I should probably bring the microphone closer. There. Now I feel more prepared. You don't want any distance between you and the microphone will cause it to, have less good quality of sound. Welcome to Vlog Thursday. I always look over to the side, but I should just memorize that number. It's 313, which is fun because that is the area code for Detroit. Also, the phone number for my office begins with 313. Let's see. I use lots of little Intel Atom box with pfSense for its perfectly power consumption 510 watts. Yes, that refers to the photo that I have of me holding one of the dead Atom boxes. We'll talk. It's actually, yeah, I think that one had an Atom processor. I have to dig it up. I posted on Twitter. Remember that exact one. I may do a video talking about those. Serve the Home covers all the new ones. We mostly install Netgate devices, so I'll get that out of the way. But we'll talk further about that. Let's run through some of the comments. I always like seeing all the comments on here. Some people like to use the HP T620 Plus thin clients. Yeah, anything, pfSense is pretty flexible. You can load it on a lot of different things. That'll be among the things we talk about today. Let's see. Avoid Realtek. I see some people talking about Realtek in here. Avoid Realtek next, just in general. Afternoon from Cody. Let's see here. Just got a new mail server going. Sound like a good time to take a break. Saw this in my notifications. Oh, cool. Congratulations on getting your mail server working. Good afternoon from Fort Lauderdale. Awesome. We like the Vim mic. And yes, Travis, it is 313 day. Fun stuff for sure. And we have a what's up over here. And all right, cool. I know we have people. Oh, okay. And a caffeinated good morning from Australia. Is it? Yeah, morning in Australia. Wow. Time zones are fun. They're always interesting. We consult with clients all over the world. So there's, sometimes time zones that can be challenging to cross. But I thought I would say the first thing and get out of the way. Because, when I have something, a lot of stuff is just rambling, talking Q&A here. But I will kind of mention, I've talked about maybe doing a day in a life, like what do I do here type of video. I'm not sure exactly. Like, it's always weird to me because I've watched a couple of videos on YouTube just because I'm trying to curious what people want to see. And I looked, some had a ton of views and they couldn't be more vague about what they do. They were like day in the life of programmer. And it shows someone just typing on a keyboard for a while. And I was like, I don't really know what they're trying to tell me, that they just type on keyboards. Always weirded like that. So I guess I don't always know what to put in there, but at least I can talk about what it is I do. I may make a dedicated video because it's kind of a question I get of people just assume what I do a lot. And so I figured, hey, let's just break it down real quick about what my job is and what I'm doing today, because I've been doing tech since 1995. So that part's not news, but the job I have right now and how it breaks down is I spend, and this is where the line is really fuzzy, about 50% of my time making content. I do all the editing, all the recording. Of course, you pretty much only see me on camera. So all that from top to bottom, from the idea, concept, edit, publication, even all the social media posts, currently still is me. Not because I don't want to hire someone. It's just finding someone to do technical stuff is really, really challenging. I have an editor who does my business videos. Those ones are easy because they're just make sure that they're all accurate and, take out some of the ums or stutters that may have happened in the video. But auditing for technical accuracy is much more challenging. And for example, I had to edit out where I pluralized something on accident. And all I do is pause, state it correctly a second time, and I had to trim that out. Now, sometimes I don't even have to state a second time. I just add an extra word I know didn't belong. And I do like a proof when I'm editing of all that work. And that's most of the editing work that I do. So being that I do all of it top to bottom, is not something I don't want to outsource. I'd love to outsource. I have no problem paying someone to do it. It's just finding the right people to do it. Same with the social media posts. I don't know. I just come up with and spend some time on social media and I throw some posts out there. I try to automate more of it too. So that's part of my job. My other part of the job is actually running my IT services company, doing consulting with clients. And this is why it's blurry of how much time I spend on content. Some of the content's low hanging fruit because it's just something I'm doing. And I just say, hey, I should probably do a video talking about this. Other times it's related to me researching something or wanting to show a client how to do something through the consulting, wanting to explain a concept, and I'll put those videos together. So, kind of my job here is both discovering new tools, discovering solutions. Sometimes those solutions are, I kind of divide them up. Is this a solution for the client? Cool. Maybe I'll put a video together on this. Maybe a client project I'm working on needs a better understanding of this. And a at the same time, I have to manage the business. Now, Brett does most of that right now, but there's still a lot of business management that I have to do on the back end, making sure everything's going smooth. I still have my hand in that. And that's the other, decisions that come to me of maybe big projects, reviewing some of them. There's a big bid we're doing for a client and, some of the larger bids that get up there around that $200,000 mark. And there's a lot of intricacies with them that maybe I'll take the time to sit and review those if there's questions on it. So I'm always the one who backstops some of those projects to go, all right, what needs to be done here? Is there something, that I need to look at? Should we think about this at scale? Should we think about how we're going to approach this problem for the client and come up with the best solution? Because more than the managed service providing stuff we do a lot of IT consulting work. So that's a lot of what my day is consumed with, is just doing all that, doing some content here, which the content is blended into the business, blended into the consulting. People hire us for lots of consulting projects. I got a team that gets passed off onto, some of them I do. So kind of an overall what I do is that. Now, how I could turn it into a day in a life of video would be a whole, different thing. There'll be a whole harder to do topic to come up with all that. But let me know what you guys think. It's always interesting. I don't mind talking about any of it. I just try to figure out where the interest lies or where I could drive the narrative to explain something better for how I do it. And a lot of people ask how to get started in it. That's an answer you're going to get that's going to be different for everyone. And there's no easy answer to your path into tech. Where I get started in tech for me was easy because I just always knew I wanted to work in this and I just ran forward with it. So that's why I started in 1995 doing all of this. But let me catch up with the questions again here. Good morning from land down under. It's not the land down under if you're not sure. It's the land down under. I like always makes me laugh. Yes, you can use GitHub lists in your URLs in pfSense. That's absolutely true. Kind of a neat thing to do. A day with Tom. a week with a tech geek. Those are fun names too. Chicago. Maybe it's better you do a blend of things and not just one. Be interested in the video. Yeah. Yeah, there's Cody does the same thing. Cody, much like myself from Mac Telecom Networks, does the same thing where he's doing the work. Now, I don't do the cabling as much. I just was never good at it. I've always had people that I've hired, contracted, worked for me, etc., that have done cabling. Even when I worked in enterprise IT, I was never the cable person. We hired all that out. I've supervised large projects all the time. We do large scale cable deployments all the time. They're just not done physically by me. Someone asked me the other day about what's your favorite cable to order? I'm like, I let them order the cable they like, because the people installing it have opinions on cable. I don't have opinions on cable. I want, the best install, best quality. So I get less involved in some of that side of it. Is that a Protect Tele firewall in the thumbnail? That is a dead Protect Tele in the thumbnail. And let me find the Twitter post I had on this. I don't have an easy answer. I do know a few people had commented about, let me pull my Twitter over here. So I post this on Twitter. That's why I'm pulling that up. Go to my profile and where did I post that? How recent was it? I post a lot on Twitter sometimes. There we go. Let's get that discussion going here because it's in the thumbnail. It's the same thing I threw on Twitter, but that's the part I wanted to talk about was this. So this is this model Protect Tele. It is it's an old model. We had it in 2018. and it's this one here. Now, this is a Intel Atom, was it, to make it a little bigger, E3845. It's several years old, but it died. And that's the thing that a few people chimed in and said. There's a couple of comments in here of people that had one that died as well. We've had a few of these die, but we never sold enough of these at any scale to give you a real statistic. This is the problem sometimes when you're trying to dive into this as a topic, is figuring out the real statistic of it. Are there a lot of them that died? Well, we need a proper, to do your analysis, you would need, let's say, 100 Protectellis. Sounds like a good sample size. So if we sold 100 Protectellis, how many of that 100 died? The problem is we only bought like 10 over time. And out of those 10, I think maybe we had 20. This is the problem. We didn't buy them all. And sometimes we see stuff that comes in from the market because other people bought it and we're replacing something they had on site. So I don't have the clear statistic for over the years. And this goes back to like 2016, 2017, when I bought some of these. This particular one, though, I do know where I bought it. And it was in 2018. We bought 4 of them for a project and one of them died. Does that mean all of them are going to die? I don't know. I just know this one died, and some people chimed in about theirs dying. Now, I will admit, for is meant now, pfSense and the Netgate stuff is a little different. We buy a lot of that, and we also around 2018, I think, pretty much standardized it. We're just going to buy for business clients the Netgate stuff. So the business clients all get Netgate. And by doing the business clients at Netgate, we're trying to push that forward. So we homogenize our network so we know which is at each of these clients. I mean, it's one of those things that happens over time and iterations. That being said, we've, for as many Netgates as we've sold, I've had extremely few Netgates die. Now, the Netgates that have died, oddly enough, one of them was mine. The one in my office died. I thought that was kind of strange. And the drive went bad. No, I think the whole board went bad on it. We had a Netgate 5100 singular, not any one of the clients, but one of ours that had gone bad. It did happen. And I did a video about that. We've had, I think, one or two 3100s go bad. Not many. So, but that was a really popular model. For as many as we sold, it's still a really low percentage. And there's so many other factors that go in there. And I believe only one of them died out of warranty. Sometimes we've had them where it was, I think they were drive issues. And the one that died, by the way, we fixed by swapping the drive in it. So there was a solution around it. But those are kind of dated now anyways. So, but those are my thoughts on it. It's not like we can easily answer how good are these over time. Generally speaking, I think they're decent because hardware overall has become better and more reliable, but there's not a, there's not a definitive, there's not a easy way to gather all accurate statistics on this. So that's one of the things I like to point out. It's not an easy thing to get it. So video, choosing a local contractor to wire your home lab. Oh, that's a real challenging one. I've done how to bid, but how to choose a wiring vendor, that's really challenging. Try to get some references, try to see some of their previous work. That would be the best idea. There's not much more to it than that. And hopefully they're not using random contractors and they're only showing you the good work, because some places don't do the work. They're always brokering it out. So you have to figure out if you're dealing with a broker or that. So yeah. Let's see. They had a bad batch of their 4 ports last month. That's interesting. Let's see. Ain't got no gas in it. Hey, it's good to see Xavier popping up here. I haven't seen him in a minute. Hello, Xavier. Protector, a good choice. Very Qualcomm generics because you get brand with a warranty in case it dies. Yeah, Protect Tele's just importing them and doing some QC. They're all made by, it seems they go by a couple different names. Patrick from Serve the Home covers these a lot, and it's not 100% clear on these when it comes to the exactly who makes all of them, like how many different companies or how few companies just rebrand a similar product. I don't know, something, I have a sty on my eye. When hardware's cheap, keep a spare. Yeah, it's better to have It's better to spend a little more and have hardware that doesn't fail. Yeah, I had to ship them back 16 devices. They were rebooting, sometimes turning off. They converted all, shipped new batch. Yeah. We really stick with the Netgate whenever possible. It makes the most sense because you get a more homogenized product. You have spares you can have that are the same. They're extreme. Netgate does a good job of making their hardware reliable. Granted, their hardware is a lot more expensive, but for businesses, I mean, downtime is expensive. This is one of those things that people don't um calculate enough when they're thinking about a business situation, even a small business. If you have a business with 10 employees, those 10 employees, how much do you think they make a day? So whatever that average employee makes times 10, you know, that is their day rate. And if they're down a day because they rely on the internet, they're down a day, then you have a bunch of employees that can't work because the internet's down. How much did that cost the client? Was that couple $100 price difference that the Netgate was really a cost savings at that point? Especially because you have a couple problems. One, the thing you installed died. Two, the customer's disrupted and has to usually pay people even when there's disruption. And three, there's some brand problems that are created with these with the company because they're going, well, that company just kind of didn't reply to my emails that day. There's like a cascading effect of problems that come with using subpar hardware that's less reliable. It's one of the reasons you try to push for reasonably reliable, especially when the price difference is only a couple $100. Now for home lab, yeah, buy what you can get. It's a home lab. And sometimes you want to play with things and do things differently in a home lab and you want the best deal. Or when you're in a home lab, you don't have the budget for the real expensive stuff. So, that's definitely a thing. I need to run a cable through a doorway. Is the flat cable worth it? I'm just asking for failure over time. I found that the flat cables, if you don't flex them, are fine. If you flex them a lot and use them a lot, like I was rolling them up and trying to use them, like I'd use it, roll it up and put it in my laptop bag. Yeah, they seem to fail. They don't fail if they're stationary. I have a 6100 Netgate, had it house for a bit. I know way overkill, but uh, but but what the run in the building network if I can't? I don't know the last part. I just don't like Netgates that are not X86. What concerns about losing physical keys, bank deposit box? I'm missing some context for that. If I was running a business, Netgate hardware, home lab, R620 spare parts are handy. Yeah. I love Netgate, but I'll show you OpenSense fan. Just from the layout, I find it easier to use than pfSense. Use it makes you happy. I tell people that all the time. Business downtime is multiplied. It's an insane number how fast they rack up. Yes, a lot of people just do not think about that. They, it's a short-sightedness to think, oh, I'll just save $300 on this. Like that, in the scope of things for a 10-person company, even a 5-person company, a $300 saving if it costs them a day of downtime, yeah, that can be really detrimental to that business in terms of cost. That's a big cost that they have to eat. They got to pay everybody. And of course, it doesn't look good as you, the tech person, even if it's not your fault that it died. It's technology. You put it in, you can say, hey, I warranty replaced this. And they're still like, yeah, and I'm still not happy because it broke. Well, let's see. Multiple WAN failover is not working for 2 PPOE gateway. I have no idea about PPOE. People ask, I have no help. You have to post on Netgate forums on that because I just don't run into PPOE. We don't really use it here. And most of the people we do consulting with are businesses, so they don't seem to use it very much either. Just tell the wife you really need an 8200. Yeah, there we go. When will pfSense redesign the GUI? Why would they redesign the GUI? The GUI's not broke. I don't see why they would redesign it. Let's pull something up here, though, too. I'm going to share another tab because this is the new version of pfSense. This is we'll zoom it way in so people can see it. 2301. So this is the latest version of pfSense, and yes, the UI looks the same. I don't think the UI needs a redesign at this point. You love it or hate it. It works. I know where everything is, even with the latest 23 version of it. I don't really see them going through any major revisions of the UI. I need to stop being lazy and make it to where a user can't hit the admin page. I moved Chinese. So the problem, as I would describe it, so the reality is most and many things are made in China. It comes down to the firmware that you're dealing with, less the hardware. The phones, for example, are an easy example of that. Many of the iPhones are made in China. I think all of them are actually. I shouldn't say many. I think 100% of the iPhones are made in China. But that does not necessarily mean that the iPhone is an insecure device because the firmware is crafted and exhaustively tested by the people at Apple to make sure it's secure. The hardware being based out of one place versus where's the firmware coming from? Where's the BIOS coming from? That's what is the bigger concern. It's not a reasonable request at this point in time here in 2023 that you have something that's not made in China because you'll have a hard time finding electronics that aren't made in China. How many companies record man hours lost in their decision making? Anyone you bring it up to thinks about it. So we bring it up as a selling point. How do you sell cybersecurity? How do you sell backups, resiliency? You figure out their risk tolerance. You have a discussion with the client about what your risk tolerance levels are. What will it cost you? And I always tell them, what will it cost you? But I don't need to know the number. You do. What will it cost you to have downtime for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? Then you build your disaster recovery, your business continuity plans around that answer. It's not an up to me decision per se. I will provide the service, but when I tell clients is it's kind of like this is how you think about it. Encourage your clients to think about something from that perspective, and then they'll come back to you wanting the product. It's not like you tell them you need to have this, you got to have this, you got to have that. You're not telling them why they got to have it. You're just telling me they got to have it. If you let them draw the conclusion, like, hey, what will downtime cost you? What does your brand look like to your customers if it's down for 2 days and you can't reply? You can't do the services that your company offers because of a insert name of whatever caused the outage, and you having the solution to mitigate it. It's just kind of a cost benefit. It's even selling a dual connection. I've heard people tell me every business needs a dual internet connection. And I'm like, well, no, you let them know if there's an outage, this is what was affected. How does that affect you, Mr. Business or Mrs. Business Owner? You ask the business owner to ask them to think about that. Then they can make the rational decision of whether or not that cost is an effective thing in their business. It's kind of a better way to sell it. That's my opinion. You can do it differently, of course. It's all up to you. I'm just sharing the insights that I have for how I do things. Let's see. I have no a Fit IoT fillet. I have no idea what that is at all. I just wanted to say those words. Anyone else know that Talos is not downloading, even change frequency, hit and miss? I haven't had a problem with the Talos. I don't. Well, I have to look at which rule set I'm downloading. I could double check, but I haven't seen an error message. Redundancy is key for business. Yes. In the process of switching from KeyPass to Bitwarden, I have set it up and working standalone. Is there any way to sync standalone Bitwarden to cloud? Uh, what I don't understand. Bitwarden connects to a server. If it connects to your local server, it's your local server. If you connect to their cloud, it's their cloud. With so many options in pfSense, how easy it's to test something new and make it all break down. I mean, you can break anything. That's a whole hard thing for me to answer. It's everything's very breakable. I could delete the WAN interface and I guess it would be broken. I would need better context to answer that question. What is your opinion on lifetime warranty on switches? Updates are not as long though. Well, yeah, that's you can call it lifetime, but for compliance reasons, people end up pulling out a switch because it's no longer receiving updates, it's end of life, etc. And I don't. It's a marketing ploy more so than a necessity. People leave switches in way too long. Matter of fact, a lot of switches just don't die as often as they do. So I don't think it's a neat marketing ploy, but I don't think it's not my reason for buying or not buying a switch. What sort of performance can I expect from my Synology with 32 gigs running mainly Docker containers, Plex, and UniFi? You can get whatever performance that processor can handle because that's not it's not a question I can quantify for you very easily. We can lock our Apple accounts using a physical security key, but what if we lose that key? Same goes for using those keys for password manager. What backup procedure would you recommend? You can have more than one key. Don't rely on one key. Have more than one. That's the backup procedure. You can have TOTP and something that does FIDO, for example. The you don't have one or the other. They can both work in concert with each other. Is a pfSense PC going to be faster latency than my Netgear router? Probably depends on the router and depends on the PC. If you use a fast enough PC, even a 5-year-old processor, generally speaking, will have low latency in pfSense. I just installed one and having an issue passing internet through my pfSense, probably being dumb. You have a video on how to get it behind a router and DMZ it. Yeah, just uncheck the boxes for the Bogon networks under WAN. Home build pfSense. How many cores and RAM? 2 cores will do it. 2 gigs of RAM will do it. It really depends on what services you want to run. You can look at the specs on the Netgate boxes and kind of get your idea for speed versus the hardware. So if you go to the appliances and looked at what processors are in these and what the tech specs, they have it all right here. So you can see the tech specs and see the speed you get. So you can kind of gauge your performance around that. Trying to set up an Edge Router X, and when I hit save, check configs, it says I don't do any I haven't used an Edge Router X in so many years. I don't know where to help you on that. Probably the Netgate forums would be helpful for that. Let's see. You think they make iPhones in India as well? Okay. The pfSense GUI is awkward to navigate, especially compared to OpenSense. OpenSense has a search feature. I've had people tell me they like the search feature in OpenSense, but they don't like the way OpenSense does a lot of other things. It comes down to use what makes you happy. If you think OpenSense is the one that makes you happy, go for it. The pfSense UI is written in plain PHP without a framework, which should be hard to maintain. Yeah. Tom is running 12 cores, which is a bit overkill. How many is it? I don't know. Is there that many cores in this system? Let me look. Oh yeah. Well, it's a 12 core processor. But I don't know how many cores I have assigned to it. Let's look. I only have 8 cores assigned to it, so this is that same system because it's a virtual instance of it. So, like non-Chinese company Netgear probably develops their firmware outside of China, even though the hardware is probably made there. That's actually very common. Oh, let's see. Let's see. I have 17 Pies running Docker and Kubernetes. Awesome. I was thinking my Bitword standalone dies have a backup of Bitword and cloud. GR, I guess I have backups. I didn't know if you could cloud sync to cloud all. No, not that I'm aware of. Did Bitwarden add a way to manage someone else's password store? Like my parents get on Bitwarden. You can share passwords between them. So there's a way you can create like shared collections on Bitwarden. I'm using pfSense Ubiquiti Edge switches. Managing VLAN is sweet, but switching to UniFi switch is painful. Managing VLAN is not as easy and sometimes just not working. I have a whole video on pfSense and using UniFi. I haven't really touched the Edge stuff in a while. We still have some clients with it. We still support it like as a business, but we do some consulting on it, but mostly it's UniFi more so than Edge. Let's see. How much RAM would you get for pfSense? Probably 8 gigs for a modern pfSense. That way, that would leave you the expandability you need for services, but you can run it on 2 gigs or even 4 gigs. What would you recommend transitioning from EXTP4 to ButterFS? The least painful way with Synology, I don't know any least painful. I'm pretty sure you have to reformat the drives. I don't think there's any way to do it without reformatting. Fiber engineer mentioned that default probe interval of 500 is too much for gateway under advanced. Fiber engineer mentioned that the default probe interval of 500 is too frequent. I don't think so. I would say for routing, I don't think their defaults are too aggressive, but you can change them. I mean, it probe interval of 500 in milliseconds. I mean, when you're just pinging the gateway, it's not like that's very little traffic. Even on a 1 gig connection, it's a few kilobits of traffic to be able to know if that gateway's up or down. But it's easily adjustable if you don't like it. So it's not hard to change. Is it on a current BSD? It was like 13. No, the pfSense 23 beta is actually running. Where's it at here? Come on. I know it's in here somewhere. It's FreeBSD 14. I'm just trying to find out where it shows it here. Or did I turn it off somehow? Oh, FreeBSD 14 current right there. So yeah, it's running 14. What model would you recommend for home use? I think the 2100 NetGates work great for home use if you're asking for a NetGate recommendation. 2100 is a good device. Is it good to migrate from pfSense to UDM? No, not at all. The UDM is like for basic routing, the UDM works. End of story. The moment you need more advanced features, the UDM falls apart because it doesn't even have good VPN options. They finally put WireGuard in the UDM. Is it SE Special Edition? But that's it. If you want a lot of advanced features, pfSense has way more features than that. So, how do you look at what's being blocked from a client computer in pfSense? Well, it depends on how you blocked it. If you're using PF Blocker, you would look in the logs for PF Blocker. What do you prefer? Dedicated pfSense box? Definitely. You can stop there. VMs, I don't care as much for running into VM. I run into VM for my lab environments, but for production environments, generally no. I prefer hardware for the less complexity. Home lab trimmed down to power costs. Yeah, power costs are a problem in Europe right now, and the UK, I believe. Virtualized pfSense on 12 core HP, hosting some Dockers and storage. Yes. Next time you're in Ann Arbor, want to get together? Yeah, message. I'm not a hard person. DM me on Twitter or however. Would like to get a layer 3 or layer 2 switch routing it all through layer 3 firewalls. Not really needed, but most speed layer 3. So I am lost on that question there, or if that's a question. Would like to get a layer 2 routing. Just route it through pfSense. I mean, if you have some use case, get a Cisco switch that supports layer 3, or insert whatever brand makes you happy. We need a good guide on routing on layer 3 switches, says say pfSense for high throughput, maybe home lab show episode. Not really. The problem is it's not consistent between models. I have to pick a model, let's say a Cisco, and show you how to do layer 3 in Cisco. Or I can pick an HP and show you how to do layer 3 in HP or Aruba. Insert name of model, whatever switch brand you're looking for. They're not all the same. And it's not something most people need. It's less people need it. I mean, data center people, you'd see it. There's scenarios where you'd have it. I have a video. I've talked about the scenarios where you might want it. I have a layer 3 switching video, and you'll find most of the time people ask about it, but don't need it. Or layer 3 routing, I should say, not switching. Do you play with Proxmox? Nope, I do not. Is there any place to get a basic machine to start playing with? Nope. I mean, Jay from Learn Linux TV, lots of great videos on Proxmox, whole series on Proxmox. So I recommend watching Jay's videos on Proxmox. He's got a lot of one. 45 Drives has some too. pfSense LAN 1 goes to UniFi switches, no problem. LAN 2 goes to WAN 1 of UDM Pro. All in all, IPv4, massive latency accessing UDM through portal. iPhone app doesn't work at all. No, not a problem I've run into. I have a video on mixing the two together because people like doing that. We have it for testing reasons only. We have a UDM in our network just so we can demo it. I've called it the UniFi disappointment machine a few times. So, but I don't really understand why they would, people have weird problems. I'm not exactly sure, uh, you know, what problems they have. Usually when we find people weird problems, they've changed settings somewhere almost consistently. Whenever people hire us consulting, we set so many things back to default. I've made that joke so many times. The secret to my consulting is setting things back to default because people touched all the knobs. So pfSense is a firewall. pfSense for firewall with switches AP managed from a UniFi controller is a good combo. Yep, got videos on how to set up the UniFi controller or not the UniFi switches, the UniFi access points with pfSense. It's just a great combo. It works really well. Any advice on small server rack for security protection? Heard TP-Link, Omada, and firewall hardware such as the 12th gen. I don't know that I trust TP-Link at all when it comes to security. I wouldn't publicly expose any of the Omada stuff. TP-Link did, they're not a company that has the best track record when it comes to security. They're also not the best when it comes to documentation. It's always a little light. They are popular in the home user market because they're cheap. So the hardware seems to work. I did some testing with it. I said, hey, this works. But that's kind of where I stopped with it. Like, would I do a large deployment? Nope. My friend Riley was just posting about this. Riley Chase owns HostiFi, and he was doing some posts on Twitter and in several forums asking, does anyone besides home users use this? And a couple people said I've used it for 1-2 installs, like for small projects, but not any large deployments. I don't really know if it holds up at all to large deployments, but it seems popular in the home user market because it's cheap. I don't say it's secure. I would just say it's affordable. So it's an option. Oh yeah. Tagged, untagged, native, PVAD, trunk versus port, and UniFi calls it all, so in the UniFi menus, it's just called the all. So yeah, there's nomenclature's fun. Wait, someone donated money and I don't know where. Oh, there we go. I'll get to that one in just a second. If you have a 10G home lab with many VLANs, layer 3 switches, nice, especially if you don't want a beefy router. The problem is, this is the challenge. For example, MikroTik supports layer 3. Supporting layer 3 routing and layer 3 routing being fast are not the same thing. There's the marketing people that want to put on the box that they support it. Most of the time, the biggest thing I run into people is they want to route their storage. Don't route your storage at all. Don't put it through routing because that's a headache. Storage should be on the same subnet and it'll make your life better. But yeah, you have to have a switch fast enough to do it because most time, obviously you don't always run up to the firewall and have it do the routing between the VLANs. So you can have a layer 3 route so we can inter VLAN route within the switch, but then the switch has to be fast enough to inter VLAN route, or you didn't solve the problem. You just moved where the problem is. Unified disappointment machine. Yeah. Is pfSense going straight from 2.6 to 2.7? Yes, I think so. Best device for pfSense is always a NetGate device. Time for new home lab. Would you choose a single massive virtual host, nested virtualization, or multiple smaller hosts? I like multiple devices. I like playing with more hardware. So that's my opinion. But it comes down to what works for you and what you have available and what your budget is. Yeah. Lab power cost. My lab is my home network, not turning it off, but looking at the cost of, yeah. That's it. Power costs, especially I know I have a lot of people from the European market, so that's definitely a thing. How do you come across ISP providing fiber SFP direct to pfSense? Not too often. It's hit and miss. UDM comment, earn some beer money. Thank you very much. Okay, so $10 for a unified disappointment machine. Thank you for the donation. MikroTik is a time sink of in learning their system. The MikroTik platform works. It's just quirky. It doesn't it's not, it doesn't blow your mind with amazingness because it's just kind of a quirky system. That's where a lot of people run into problems with it. Is it's harder to learn. It has weird nuances to it. The documentation isn't always great. And as someone put it, I kind of laughed that I see this as a comment. They said, MikroTik's one of those devices that you'll bounce your head off of the wall for a little while trying to solve a problem. You'll find some secret incantation in a forum that you have no idea why it works, but you'll copy and paste commands and it'll solve your problem, but you're not sure how. And I just kind of laughed when someone wrote that up. Oh, let's see. I use MikroTik and keep my storage local. Try to keep it simple where I can. Yeah. A lot of equipment equals more power usage. Yes. Let's see. Dual gateway. Can I force Twitch to go out a specific LAN? Yes, I have a policy routing video about that. Ooh, special edition, I think is what it's for, but I don't really know. Is MikroTik easy to set up VLANs? I actually have a video on MikroTik VLANs. You tell me if you think it's easy. I have a video on it. Easy is a really relative term. Is it easy for me? Yes. Do I think it's easy for everyone? Not really. Is it the hardest one I've set up? No. And for example, I did a review of one of the Ingenious switches. The Ingenious switches have bad documentation. I actually told the people at Ingenious, I haven't gone back and checked, but I tried to get it done before the video. I told them their documentation was wrong before I did a review, and they didn't update the documentation. I'm like, guys, your documentation doesn't say how to set the VLANs. I figured it out and I put it in my video how to set it up, but your documentation is inaccurate. This is the problem with some of these companies. Writing documentation is hard. Oddly, Ubiquiti has good documentation. Netgate and pfSense has amazing documentation. That's actually what makes some of the projects popular. You can have an amazing product, but if your documentation sucks and your UI isn't intuitive enough to figure out, you're really hurting yourself in terms of product. But Travis, I'm positive we can come up with a better uh, acronym for that. So something better than SE. I mean, that sounds boring. Special edition. I mean, Unified Disappointment Machine Special Edition. That sounds better. Do you prefer lag multiple NICs to a switch to keep separate for each VLAN? Not really. I don't use. I mean, there's times when you do use them. Maybe in the enterprise market. Number of home users wanting to tie them together is always odd to me, unless you have some bandwidth limitations. But 10 gig is cheap, and usually you're not saturating more than 10 gigs, so you can use lag. Do I prefer it? It's not something I need for every setup. Usually, you just throw a VLAN on there. Now, if you don't need VLANs and you can put everything on separate switch ports, all the better. Trying to get all my SAN access over Synology for things like remote desktops. That's an issue. Now you have iSCSI going over the same link. That's just an architectural problem. MikroTik router OS VLANs. Yeah, I should probably qualify that. There is router OS and switch OS. Switch OS is easier than router OS to get VLAN set up. So yeah, that's probably one of those things that's got to be qualified as a statement. MikroTik is used heavily in ISP market. They are quirky when it comes to just needing to route traffic. The value prop is tough to beat. Yes, the reason the ISP market is slim margins. Therefore, things like MikroTik become very popular because they pack a lot of features. And once you take the time to learn them and you're deploying things at scale, you need things that are affordable at scale. So MikroTik falls right into that ISP market. It's crazy because you'd think the ISP market would be more affordable or more profit driven, but as much as it does cost, the small providers that use, for example, my family lives in very rural parts of Michigan where there's very, very low population. And you're like, wow, it's $100 a month for internet and it's slow, blah, blah, blah. But I know some of the people involved in running the internet there, and they're just not making a ton of money. It's all very low margin because it costs so much to provision internet to low population density areas. So MikroTik becomes one of the stopgaps to, put in something affordable that they can, make it as well affordable as they can for people in rural areas to have internet connections. Do you think Ubiquiti is killing the Edge switch line? They're not giving it any love, so I don't know that they're killing it, but it certainly isn't a very popular option. Office Brain Trust will get here shortly. I don't know that it's a scam edition. I've never said they're a scam. They just do things in a weird way. Hey, Lawrence Systems, have you had a good New Year so far? Yes, I am. What access points do I have at home? I think, and let's find it. Let's pull up Tom's house. See, Tom has a U6LR and a in-wall HD. So those are my home ones. That one and the other one. Mostly I'm using this one here. That's what covers my house. Yeah, no one, there's not much demand for videos from EcoTick either. So there's such a niche item, and it's hard to produce videos and stuff that doesn't have great documentation. What do I think about Sonic Wall? I'm currently installing big Ubiquiti Draytech switches. Had some config customer Sonic Wall, not a fan. I don't like Draytech or Sonic Wall. I think Sonic Wall in particular is just garbage. I really dislike them. Seen much Arista? Yeah, Arista's big in the enterprise market. Are those Netgate appliances specifically the lower end ones we're checking out, or should be more expensive ones we looked at instead for home lab use? The small ones are actually really nice, really reliable. You're not going to run some of the more advanced packages like NTOP and your flow data. Yeah, that's not going to go great inside of there. But the system itself, like they work really well. They're dependable and reliable. Uh, how many square feet does that cover? That depends on what your house is made out of. That this is one of those things that's just constantly a question of how far will the Wi-Fi reach? All the way till it hits something it can't go through. We did a consulting call. I was talking with my engineers. They had a consulting call where they did one where there was just, I guess, so much rebar in the first floor of the building, it wouldn't even go through the next room. It would just die off. So it all comes down to there's a radius if you have nothing in the way that can be calculated. The reality is, if you're not putting it in a wide open room and there's objects or walls in that room, you now are starting to slowly cut down what the Wi-Fi can get through. Do we do a lot of international business? Oh, yeah. We've got clients in Australia, all over Europe, Israel. I'm trying to think. They're everywhere. There's a lot in Europe in the UK as well. So we do consulting globally. Does the UAP in-wall cover more than one room? Well, technically it kind of does. Let's see who's connected to it. I bet my son is connected to it if I had to guess. So if we looked at clients off of the UAP, so let's go here to clients. Let's shrink these down to just that one there. So yeah, there's a couple different things being connected to it. So Chromecast, my wife's Pixel's attached to it, and whatever all these other things are. I don't even know what they are. Probably it'll bounce back and forth versus more things connect to this in the house. But plenty of things connect to it. It covers it. My wife's office and my son's wall are the same wall. And so, yeah, it's kind of in both. It's probably covering both of their devices. The funny thing about intro from one system is I watched so many times a video that I'm mesmerized. I don't get these AP Unified Music Explains 3 gigs when it only has a one. Yeah. You understand marketing, right? The U6 LRs have been bread and butter for the last 12 months. Those LRs are solid. They work really, really well. I had a hard time wrapping my head around the VLAN hack on the switch ports and the Netgate 1100. All the cheap ones had. Yeah, that's something that is harder to explain. We know how to do it, but yeah. ChatGPT is not scary. It is simply taking all the knowledge that we had, indexing it, the stuff that's in Stack Exchange, the stuff that you can find on the internet, and it builds data models on that. I don't consider it scary at all. I find it interesting. I find it to be an assistant tool. People are putting I've avoided some of the hype about it. I don't know. I think it's way overhyped. That's one thing. It's not as good as people say it is. Is it better than someone who doesn't know how to do some of the most basic stuff? Yeah. Can it write some good framework code to get you started that you can debug? Yes, it can do things like that. It's just based on all the knowledge it has, which also, by the way, based on the knowledge we have, there was a problem that ended up very prolific. I'm trying to remember. It was a fun programming problem. There was actually a result that was a top result when people asked a question to how to solve a certain problem. Everyone upvoted, as in humans had upvoted some of these solutions to be the top answer. The answer had a security flaw in it. But so many people, because it was upvoted to be the top answer in this post, they Google it, they found the top answer, which had the best SEO position. So ChatGPT is always relying on things that are the best SEO position, not the most accurate information. So it's kind of an interesting thing because it's based on the knowledge we put out there, but not always the knowledge that's right. So it's why Chappie, it's kind of the flaw of it until it can have contextual understanding, which by the way, it does not. It doesn't have contextual understanding of whether or not it's the right answer. It knows the most popular answers that seem to fit the answer. It's fun to think about how the logic works that drives these things, but it's also it's a great news story right now, and it's better than the usual news stories, so I'll take it. I still think it gets people talking about technology, so I'm not against it at all. Let's see. Yeah, wire mesh plaster walls, that's just a Faraday cage in your house. I will thank you. Informed answers and videos, awesome. I have I think we've talked to a few people in South America. I mean, it's South America's fine. Anyone who wants to pay our rates can hire us for consulting. We don't really have a lot of restrictions for the most part. I just set up my LAN Wi-Fi network and a guest VLAN 10 network is able to get DHCP with him, but I cannot ping switch from LAN IP. pfsense firewalls blocking ICMP to switch. You probably need to get rules set up for that. Anything else on this? Just pings. Yeah, you've blocked the switch. You've got the rules wrong. I have videos on setting up guest networks. What should I use for NFS storage? Synology rack mount or TrueNAS? NFS I have found faster on TrueNAS. Synology does really good with iSCSI. So for any particular Synology system, which it supports NFS, I just found the NFS to be a little bit slower for the same system. But TrueNAS does really fast with NFS. So, but it comes down, you're not comparing the same hardware. So the ultimate answer is what hardware are you using? So that's what it's going to come down to is the whole thing. The public reaction to ChatGPT is scary. No, it's as expected. It's the new shiny. Let's touch the new shiny of thing we don't understand. VLANs are scary to the general public. If they even knew what they were, you can't get VLANs in the news. uh Corey. Actually, these comments go together. I manage hundreds of VLANs in the Q&Q network. And Corey is scary. Yes, Corey is managing hundreds of VLANs. Corey has much power. I have two U6LR. How hard it be to put in a 10G NIC to better remove single point of failure? 10G NICs are not that much more. U6LRs, but how hard? I don't know where you would put a 10 gig NIC in. I don't understand that as a question. QIC, another thing people get in a twist over. Yeah. ChatGPT can give you a workable solution that's full of security holes. Garbage in, garbage out. Proof of concept. Yep. ChatGPT gives you the wrong answer in a very convincing way. You just have to say the wrong answer confidently and people believe you. Take that from someone who makes YouTube videos. Let's see. Hey, Lawrence, you know how to add an interface and a VLAN attached to an access point? You can't see the host of pfSense until it shows chat. I don't. You want to add a interface with a VLAN attached to an access point. I don't understand what your goal is. I have a video though where I explain VLANs and pfSense. I put a whole video together on there. So self-hosted Bitwarden online account email info needed, or self-hosted kiosk synced with sync thing only for one person, which is better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using KeyPass XC. I think it's a great tool. I said that in that video I did comparing them. I think it's wonderful. Make sure you back up your data. That goes the same for self-hosting Bitwarden. Self-hosting Bitwarden is a lot more complicated. For one user, it seems like it's a lot. For the learning experience, it's a good thing to learn. It's fun to play with. For one user, is it practical? Not really. So that just comes down to a you question there. KeyPass X is a good product, though. Just got the news that Acronis do Synology backup now. Have you tested? Acronis does Synology backups. No, I've not tested Acronis with Synology. What is your solution for remote firewall management when the customer does not have a static IP? If we're managing the client, we have access to the machines behind it using Screen Connect. So it doesn't matter if the IP is dynamic. Second answer, you set up a reverse VPN. So you have the client VPN to your static IP so you can access their system. Oh, yeah, you think VLANs are scary. VXLAN. Ooh, we put X in there. It makes it better. Do you use a VPN for site to site? Yes, I do. pfSense is what I prefer. Tom, can you get UniFi switch to enterprise PoE? I'll be looking like 4 months. Maybe they'll get it one day. Stuff in stock is hard. There's no way around that. How do you turn off tag VLANs to all ports on a switch? What do you try? So are you asking how you take a port on a switch and you could create, like, here's the port profile. I got to zoom too far in. There we go. Make it a little easier to see. Are you asking like how you tag it? Here's all the ones I can tag on it. Or are you asking how you create a port profile? Because you can create a port profile if you want to. And a port profile, that's, I don't think I have probably a video. Just create a port profile and only have the VLANs you want on there. I think that's maybe what you're asking. I think he wants 10G on port on a Wi-Fi 6 access point. Wi-Fi 2, Wi-Fi is faster, Wi-Fi hardware, 1G connection. A 10G, if you don't have a Wi-Fi access point with a 10 gig connection, then I'm not exactly sure how you are going to make it faster. UniFi does have models with 10 gig. Talking about putting UniFi 10G NICs in the U6 LR instead of 1G NIC, but they have two 10G. I still don't understand the question. Maybe post in my forums so you can be more articulate. I have no idea how to do what you're asking, or maybe I don't understand what you're asking. Thoughts on Untangle web filter versus pfSense option for home use? Untangle's nice. It does have web filtering. pfSense doesn't. If you have the requirement that you think your firewall should do your web filtering, then you're going to want to go with something like Untangle because it's just not a well-supported feature in pfSense. The issue is the access point GUI can see all the hosts, but in pfSense shows only the access point IP, like they're being routed through it. Oh yeah, if you use the guest feature, the routing part I believe happens within the router itself on there. The answer is not to use the guest feature and build a guest VLAN inside of pfSense instead. I installed a pfSense managed PoE switch, Ubiquiti AP with a couple VLANs. It was a good learning experience. Absolutely. pfSense is extremely well documented, extremely well supported, and the new 23 version goes all the way on to using FreeBSD 14. What's the hardest IT challenge you've come across? I don't know. They're I don't measure them. Running a business, maybe? Been doing it for 20 years. I don't know. I don't know what I can't define that. Untangle's direction under Arista, it's been good so far. I haven't noticed anything bad about it. Oh, something cool. And by the way, because as I said, I'm running the latest version of pfSense here. Boot environments. I'm just finishing a video on this as a topic, and this is a great feature that allows you to switch between different versions. It makes testing things like the 2301 release candidate or the other one here, switching back and forth between them, really, really easy. It's another cool feature. I don't think that's an Untangle, or I'm sorry, in OpenSense. I don't think they have boot environment features. Can you talk about a DMZ? Would internal access to the server DMZ also go through the firewall? Generally, yes. You set up a area of the firewall and title it DMZ. That's kind of an older term. You just build different sections of the firewall. You know, you have, whether it's physical or VLANs, you have a series of different subnets you set up and build security rules around them. By default, tag VLANs go to all ports and UniFi switches. For secure reasons, I prefer not, only when I will. Then, I mean, you don't want them to go there, then you don't switch them to all. Because when I take a port in pfSense, or not pfSense, conflating words here. If I take, and let me get to the right switch, this switch here. If I take this switch and leave it at all, it's doing exactly as you said. All ports are going here. If I take and say, I only want CamLAN on this port, no other VLANs are going to this. So if I set here, NSFWNet, that's only that profile on that port at that point. So it's not hard to do. You just set them to the ones you want. Actually, let me look at something. There's, I believe it's, yeah, this is the other menu. Move it back over here. You can also build switch port profiles. So you can choose the profile, select the native network, and then tag other networks underneath it, I believe. It's been a while since I played with this. Yeah, allowed networks. Here we go. So we can then set a different native. You can do this on UniFi. It's another option they have if you want to set that up. I think that's what you're trying to go for. Have a Proxmox server with both pfSense and Pi-hole VMs. Setting other VMs on the same Proxmox box VLAN DNS redirects to Pi-hole won't resolve just setting something wrong. Probably. Hardest thing dealing with YouTube people. Nah, I like doing this. This is fun. Clients outside the Proxmox work great. I don't know. I assume Proxmox can talk inter-network. I don't know enough about Proxmox to know what you have to do to make inter-network talk where it's on the same wire. Maybe there's some setting in there. I don't use Proxmox, so I don't know. It talks by default in XCPNG. Boot environments are only in pfSense Plus. That is correct. So this little plus at the top here lets you know that it's pfSense Plus. So this is the pfSense Plus 2301 release candidate, which, as I said, is based on FreeBSD 14. And we can go to system and boot environments because, well, it's a pfSense Plus version. What do you use for dynamic VLAN assignment for Wi-Fi clients and UniFi free radius? We just don't have that many. I've the few that we have, which is rare. It's just not a setup many. It's a setup more people ask for than ever. The actual deployments are fewer than the number of people that ask for it. I think a few of them we have, they're using part of their Active Directory to push them to the different VLANs, but we don't have that many people that have it. How about UniFi and VLAN hopping? If you know how to VLAN hop in UniFi, go collect your bug bounty. So VLAN hopping, to my knowledge, I know no way to do this inside of UniFi. This is something that people ask about. VLAN hopping, if you can find a breach or a security flaw, so to speak, to break out of your VLAN and cause the switch to give you the VLAN different than the one it was assigned to that particular port, then absolutely, you should go collect a bug bounty and write a proof of concept for that, because they do have a bug bounty program at Ubiquiti. It's something that people seem to think is easy to do. It was for a while, Cisco had, and still does. There's still uh, the way Cisco sets things up, there's still ways you can do it. Cisco has mitigations around it because it's not a flaw, it's a design of when you have two switches talking to each other and you have to get in between those switches. But once you get in between the switches, you can tap it anyways. So it's not even like you need to VLAN hop. If you can tap the link between two switches on two trunked ports, you can get all the data anyways. So yeah, it's a bigger conversation, but no, there's not any way to VLAN hop. If I assign you a specific VLAN to a specific port outside of physical access and plugging into a different port on that system, there's not a way to escape that VLAN and hop to another one. U6 Enterprise 2.5 gig NIC in the AP when plugged in the correct switch. Great, enable fast wireless. Yes, this is true. USB HD docks. I never buy those, so I don't have any opinion on those. I mean, I bought some years ago. There were cheap ones on Amazon. They worked. So, but I don't remember the name of them. Have you dealt with customers asking to set up NAC and NAC solution use? Rarely do people. Well, no, people ask about it when they realize the complexities of installing it. They usually bypass. They usually kind of skip on it. Packet fence is probably the most popular one out there for a NAC solution. But once people, it comes on the budget. Everyone thinks they want these really fancy things, and when they start really looking at deploying them, they start slowing down and going, maybe we don't really need this expensive thing. So, oh, look, it's my son has wandered in here. So yeah, people, it's one of those things, people ask about it, but it comes down to, do you want to manage a more complicated system? If you really go through security logs, how often was, oh man, if they only would have had a NAC system, they would have not got hacked. That's just simply, if you have money and budget, training to not click phishing links, good EDR, good endpoint management, good web filtering. Those are all things that are way more important in terms of cybersecurity priority than getting an NAC solution put in. What up, child? Not much. My son likes to come wander and see how many people are on my live stream. Does it make me a cooler dad if more people are on there? No. VLAN happens trying to raise some pen tests, didn't know what they were doing, but it didn't get raised. Can't remember what tools was tried in a recent. I mean, it comes down to if they can do it. By the way, I pointed out that with TP-Link, one of their older switches, I don't know if they've ever fixed this or not. One of the older TP-Link switches, I did a review on this. You could just set the IP and the management IP range, even when you trunked the VLAN trunked it to a port, like where said, all right, we're only going to assign this VLAN to the port. You could bypass it in a TP-Link. But hence, as we talked about 45 minutes ago, TP-Link, I don't think are the most secure. What about those inexpensive managed switches? Is at the very least a management port available to all VLANs? That's what I was just talking about. I've seen it. I don't have time to test all of them. I bet a ton of them are insecure and nobody has time to test them. Would you like to get me a beer, my son?
Drinking on camera?
Drinking on camera. Yeah, pizza time. UniFi base station has 10 gig. Yes, they're expensive. Setting up RDP gateways so people RDP in your office computer instead of setting up a VPN. Should the gateway be isolated VLAN and only access to the internet through firewall? You should have them VPN in before they get to RDP. Thursday nights are pizza. Yes. Good endpoint stuff, complicated security, indeed. Good team, watch logs and events. Yes. 220 watching, 57 likes. I think people, I think it was a config issue, Tom. I was setting up another and needed to fix for the TP-Link VLAN thing. Has the same model. I'm pretty sure it's a problem with the config I used. VPN, always VPN, never open ports. Yeah, all those things. Actually, I should tell my son the maybe he'll find the right beer. I don't know. I have the beer I want. I didn't tell him which one. I guess I could drink a different beer. Whatever he brings me, I'll drink. Currently troubleshooting cert auth the Windows NPS large corporate network. It is horribly unreliable. Lots of failed auth attempts. It's a pain in the butt. So, what kind of camera using? Sony A1600, I think. Hey,
show it on camera because then it'd be minor in possession.
Oh. For those that will ask, you found the right beer though. That's the part that matters. You found the right beer. Which today we're having a two-hearted ale for anyone wondering. So beer over VPN protocol. There we go. That's what we need. Beer over VPN. Budget-friendly cable tester certifier. Certifiers are expensive. That's all there is to it. Rent them if you can't afford them. Very, very few places ask for cable certification, by the way. So it's unless you have a specific job asking for a certifier. Certifiers are not the same as testers. And if you just need testers, yeah, there's plenty of them out there. The Klein tools are great, affordable ones. But the Fluke are expensive. But once you get into once you add that word certifier, that's when things get expensive. When's your next guest appearance on Business Technicalities? Probably next week. I want to do a video called "I Hate My Job Is Not a Business Plan." I love pineapple on pizza. What kind of beer are you sipping on? I think I showed that already. You must be a little behind, but it's the Two-Hearted Ale. So there we go. We'll all sign up for beer over VPN. I need to offer that as a service. Beer over VPN as a service. Someone can magic that together. We'll just slap a little blockchain in there, and we'll have it all written by ChatGPT. We're bringing it around here. Those places only want it to work. When I show a test device to a customer, they say, "What does that mean?" Yeah. Clam AV on pfSense. I don't know why you would need that. So I'm going to say don't run Clam AV on pfSense. Is it still cold in the USA? Well, that depends where you're at. It is currently, what is the temperature here? I'm in Michigan, by the way. And well, I'm in Detroit area, so the southern part of Michigan, because it is currently rainy and 39 in Michigan. But if you go further north in Michigan, it's colder. I'm at the southern part of Michigan. And if you go all the way to Florida, it's a lot warmer. So where we're at in the United States, it kind of varies. Your temperature, we have a wide variance of temperatures here in the United States. Blockchain beer over VPN gained you $1 million in VC funding. I know. I just gotta, what did that dude do? He stopped showering and just started. I'm not gonna get on that topic of all the grifters and scammers that are involved in that. 73 in Florida. There we go. I knew someone here is in Florida. Michigan is like the Wales of the U.S. I would say this. I was talking to one of my friends from the U.K. and yes, we right now are January and February are Michigan gray. It's kind of gloomy out all day. It's kind of drizzly and rain and cold. Sometimes it snows though, and it gets really cold. So Newark, Ohio. Ohio is just a little south of here. Yeah. Relatives live in Melbourne, Florida. Yeah, Melbourne, Florida is a lot warmer. And you're right, Well, we don't we do have a few days of 90-degree, not in the 90s with high humidity, but they're less common. They're less common. Best time to visit New York? All the time. I love New York. I like New York. So anytime's a good time to visit New York. I mean, if you don't like the cold, don't go there in the winter. New York is cold in the winter. New York in summer, it smells like garbage in a lot of areas. I won't lie. It's part of the charm of the city. New York has a smell to it. A lot of areas you're like, "What's this smell?" "Oh, that's that dumpster in the alley." Oh, man. Oh, I brought up Synology. We didn't even get to Synology topics today, did we? We've been just BSing about pfSense. Sir, what were we talking about here? I gotta remember the IP address of it. It's eluding me at the moment. I can find it, though. What is that one called? Trinity. No, we gotta what is that one called? Ah, man. 'Cause I'm working on a video for the there we go. I can show you guys what I'm looking at now. There's the IP address. I can remember the password. Oh, good. I saved it. Because I'm still I'm gonna have the video done hopefully soon on this. This is the oh good, there's an update for it. So let's load the updates for it. I have this Synology flash station that we're getting ready to do a video on. This thing has been great. It has been fun to play with. I need to kind of get my notes together to finish the video on it, but I've been really happy with the performance on the Synology flash station. Hey, we met at the IT Nation Secure. Glad I finally got tuned in. Awesome. Always cool seeing people from IT Nation Secure. Is that snow or infrared? Oh, I imagine you're talking about let me pull it up. There's no snow on the ground here. It's too warm for snow. So it's just rainy. It's just rainy here in the great state of Michigan. So yeah, it just started raining, so it's not even made it all the way up to the edge here, but it's just wet. It's just wet outside. Let's see. What do we have here? More weather stuff. Yeah, this is the FS 3410. It is. It is. I have been. I gotta finish the video on it, but is their Synology's all flash system, and the, performance we get out of it has been solid. It's been running for a little while with the test. It's got a bunch of flash drives in there. We've specifically it's got what do we have here? 24 drives in it. We've got a few iSCSI targets on there. We've been playing with active backup. May open active backup up. I just gotta put together the notes for a demo. Nope, that's probably not what I wanted to pull up. We have a few backups of some stuff we're doing in here. But one of the things that we did, and this is where uh, active backup for business. There we go. I'm going to do some demos of how to restore to a virtual machine. It's just kind of a neat feature that they have in here. And it's kind of cool being able to do the backups, but then have a machine fast enough that I can restore one of these machines that it's backing up directly to a VM and how fast it can do that because active backup backs the machine up. And then from there, you can push it right back over to a virtual machine right in here. I believe it's, yeah, through the restore. Next, restore to VMware, instant restore to Synology virtual machine. The instant restore feature is just it's just kind of a neat feature. So I'm going to do a video covering how that works with instant restore. That's definitely oh man, I'm on the wrong menu. Share this tab instead. There we go. There's the instant restore option. Talks about embargo new devices, audio censored. Let's see. Thoughts on spending a bunch of money on Synology versus doing a full-blown TrueNAS deployment? Um, there's the thing with Synology is, um, it just works great out of the box. The Synology has so many built-in features that make it easy, to get things going. So Synology packs in like the active backup, being able to back up all your systems via active backup, being able to, as I kind of pointed out here, clicking this, going, hey, I want to go ahead and restore. Let's choose this next, and let's just do instant restore right to here. They've done a great job of creating a turnkey system with all their packages that are super easy to load. So if we go here to the package center and load something on here, like what do we want to load? The backup service, we already have, but active backup for Google Workspace, active backup for agents, active backup for Office 365. Just being able to click that and just throw it in there is really slick. The other things they have in here, hyper backup. Let's go ahead and install that real quick. Let's install Log Center. Yeah, we need a log server, so let's just click install on that. So we have that now. Note Station. Yeah, let's do a notes tool in here. That's good. Oh, we need an OAuth server? You could install that too. Somewhere in here. Oh, Synology Calendar, Synology Chat, Synology Drive. Synology Drive is great. Let's just set up this Synology Drive server while we're at it. By the way, they're they're working on TrueNAS Scale quite a bit. TrueNAS Scale cannot do this, not at this level. TrueNAS Scale is much more involved to get any of the things I just clicked a few buttons and got it working. That there is like tutorials that need to be set up with TrueNAS Scale that are much more complicated to do this. Synology is extremely turnkey, which is what makes it popular. So that is a big selling point of the Synology systems is being able to just very quickly, like I'm doing here, just by clicking and saying yes to a few things, and boom, I have all these features at my fingertips. This is one of the big selling points of the way Synology does things. It even does have, we can also load Docker. Let's install Docker on here. Now their Docker is a little strange, but you can it's not rocket science. They have a little bit of quirkiness of how they do it, but once you kinda get the nuance of, "Oh, this is how you mount your storage volumes in Docker," you go, "Okay, that makes sense," and you're able to start setting up Docker instances inside of your Synology. It's not too hard to do. It's just a matter of figuring it out. Matter of fact, we go over here. I have, for example, here's a Uptime Kuma that I have running inside of my Docker on a Synology. It's super easy to set this up. You can pull things from here. It's just making sure you understand when you do any of these containers that you understand where your data is, where the volumes mount to, and then you build them like in File Station here. And we look for Docker. There is the couple different things I have in here what I was setting up and testing. It's a little different, but actually, I think the Docker is almost easier to use than the one inside of TrueNAS at this time in TrueNAS scale. ESXi was bought by Broadcom. I Synology is not in the game of giving out their software, so multi-master HA, no, they support HA, but not. You can't have many. You have a HA server. So you have a failover one. I've got a video on how failover works in Synology, but you can't have like 4 Synologies. You can't cluster them together. Not at this time. Yeah, hyper backup is super cool. Any speculation how long TrueNAS Core will last given the development scale? I would say at least 5 to 10 years. Might be longer, but 5 to 10 is 5 is the really like doom and gloom. You at least have 5 years out of it. I would probably say though it's going to be a lot longer than that. We can't use Docker Compose from the command line. Problem solved. Um, I wouldn't use Docker Compose from the command line in a TrueNAS system, but yeah. Just install Synology today for a client, active backup for business, active backup workspace. It is. Now, it's easy to get up and running. but it's aggravating, and I mean aggravating to get some of the updates to work sometimes for these. There's stupid problems with active backup. One of them is it's not as easy to monitor as they could be. They have not spent enough time making this easy to monitor. So here's a couple machines I have, and did this one decide to update or not? So what client version is 2.4. I've told this one to update a couple times. I don't know why it won't update my gaming system. It just I don't have an error message. I know it just I clicked it. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll do it, but it also has decided just not to do it sometimes. You click it a couple times and it goes. The other problem is why doesn't it have an option? Where's my checkbox to say, "Hey, I can say update all of them." Where's my box that says update these as updates become available? Why do I have to manually do that? So sometimes those are little annoying things from time to time. I pay for a license, not looking for a handout. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. It's active failover. Do you ever get the pleasure of using cluster storage like Cluster, Exo, Sans, Ceph, or the Holy Grail, Luster? Um, Ceph, yes. Exo, Sand, no. If we have a Ceph project, we coordinate with our friends at 45 Drives. They're the Ceph experts, Ceph experts. Thought process behind selecting True National Synology for Business. How do you choose? I'm really leaning towards just Synology everything. It, we probably do. We do more Synologies than True NASs because it's a better fit for most small businesses. But there's exceptions. Does the business have a need for? We have a client running. Uh, um, I think they have 4 XCP-NG servers, very high end, and they're using the enterprise TrueNAS servers as storage targets for their shared storage for their XCP-NG servers. That's a good solution. Works great. Synology would be good, but the TrueNAS system is faster and more flexible. So that's a TrueNAS job. Someone wants active backup. Well, obviously you're going with something like a Synology. We won't manage an active backup for a client though. That's because they're not easily managed. The only way you can really manage them is logging into each one of them. So it's one of those things, like, they're not built really for the MSP IT external management. So, on that side, it's cool to set it up if they manage it, like, they have an internal IT team. So, we do a lot of consulting on Synology, and if it's handed off to an internal IT team, that's fine because their problem is, "Hey, you have to babysit this machine and make sure Active Backup does its thing." Hopefully, Synology gets around to making something that's more in line with, uh people doing it. You know what I mean? Like us as IT. Active Insights is getting close, but doesn't fully give us the monitoring we need to really deploy this as a externally managed product. That's the one shortcoming they have. But for hey, surveillance station, that's a huge seller for us. We sell plenty of surveillance station. It just it's one of the great features. Matter of fact, if surveillance is one of the use cases, it's going to beat out TrueNAS because TrueNAS doesn't have a good surveillance option. Can't you just have a contract where you VPN it manually and check backups 2 times a month or something for in the meantime? That sounds awful. You could. That doesn't sound like a great idea though. Ideally, you want one centralized backup system that you're checking every day. I mean, do we have people we send a bill to for doing things like that? Yeah. Um, but if you want us to check it every day, we usually want something in a more centralized dashboard. Oh, I know. I have had many conversations, Cody, with their engineers. I have talked directly to some of the people there more than once about this. I've laid it out for exactly how it could work in the market. Like right now, we have like 70 companies we manage externally IT for, right around there. When you talk about managing that many companies in external IT, you don't want to log into 70 locations to look at their active backup. And I said, "Hey, Synology, would you guys like to sell 70 machines to me? Then make a way I can manage 70 machines and monitor the backups. Can't you just have that's not uh, yeah, I will bury myself in testing once they do it. Yes. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'd love to see them do it because I think they have such a good product. They just need the better central management. I think the point of the Practelico is there's a real backing behind the owner brand. I had one where lightning blew it, particularly replaced it under warranty. Well, that's cool. Who do you use for DNS email provider? DNS varies from client to client. We don't have like our favorite, but Google we use for email or Office 365. My company launch systems, like our internal use case is we use Gmail, Google. Mhm. With your experience of Docker, would a dedicated server in Fedora Debian work better than using a TrueNAS system? I would say let's talk about that because that's a good question. I would say this would be a better idea, and we're gonna log into it. I would probably say setting up Portainer is a better idea. So Portainer, and I'm partial to Ubuntu or Debian, either one's fine. I'm not a big Red Hat person. That's my personal preference. I just know Debian and Ubuntu better. So it's not because I think there's a problem with Red Hat. I'm so familiar with the Debian and Ubuntu environments, but run Portainer, and I think it's a good way to experience some of the Docker stuff. I use Namecheap. Am I doing? Just tried Cloudflare Tunnel, worked great, but broke my Namecheap email. Um, yeah, you have to be careful when you're setting it up. Cloudflare does good DNS. Ooh, time to lock up the office, turn off the lights, and lock the doors. Do you use one shared DNS server for all client registrations or one per client? Usually it's more one per client. Now, domains are different. Domains we put into um a more consolidated ones. I don't want to log into everybody's domain. So a lot of times we will move all of them into one place. We have a business wide account for managing domains. Yes, we use Gmail. I think the answer is yes, but I don't know for sure. I think you can do expanded rate on Synology, but I don't know for absolutely can I think you can do that. I'm not sure. I recommend backing up because you may or may not be able to. Name every every branding on Google Workspace. Oh, I know. Google Places, Google Workspace, Google Drive, Google stuff. I don't know. Whatever Google's calling it these days. Google for Business. Okay, they do have a write up for that. So Travis said there should be a way to do that. Awesome. What's the most fire and forget solution for backing up phones, laptops, workstation for to a local NAS? Synology's got. I mean, I use Synology Photos for backing up all my photos. I think is a great. I personally use it for my personal photo backup. So Synology's definitely great for that. I believe K8s is really. I mean, once you go into Kubernetes, running Kubernetes at all on one system doesn't make sense. You're talking about something that was designed to be across multiple nodes. Any recommendation for the best budget four base analogy? I have no idea. I mean, look at whatever they're offering. They don't have that many different ones, and it comes down to your use case more so than my use case. What else was I going to talk about too? She's jumped back over to pfsense. Are we on Synology now? Which one do we want to talk about here? Because I still got beer left. I like it. These long live streams are kind of fun because I just rapid fire answer questions. No, we don't do any Nextcloud for clients. Um, I don't think bu- I don't say that businesses are really ready for Nextcloud. It's the cost I would charge, the fees I would tack on to managing your Nextcloud environment, you may as well pay a cloud provider. Now that may change in the future. That maybe that cloud providers price themselves so high that other solutions become more practical. But as of right now, the cost of running a Nextcloud server, what you would bill the client for managing and securing it, exceeds more or less what they can pay some of the cloud providers. There's going to be some exceptions to that. I know some people may want to run their own instances. If you have an internal IT team and you're a company that can find a good fit with Nextcloud, it may work. But yeah, that's definitely a it's a consideration. But for the most part, no, we don't really do much of that. The support fees are kind of high. You need a big client base to make it make sense. Hey Tom, what do you think of Firewalla? I would not use Firewalla myself. It's a consumer product. If you like it, it has some cool consumer features. It has a phone app. Matter of fact, it only has a phone app last I looked. So it's a novel product for consumers to use. I wouldn't use it myself, and I don't have any intention. I just don't have the time to review all the consumer products out there, including the Firewalla. So how much would you charge 30 people for a company in Nextcloud? I mean, I don't know. I never really thought about putting pricing to it. It really depends on what they're expecting, on what they're expecting in terms of the what do you call it? Like support and things like that. So I would usually refer people to whatever, and we'll pull it up. Pricing, there we go. I would charge what they're charging. I wouldn't go any less. Oh, they don't have their pricing listed on there. Okay, there we do. So 100 users is 36 here. I would just resell this. 100 users for $36 per user per year. So divide that by 12. So is it, I mean, I would resell this, put a markup on it, or sell it to them directly to have them buy it through them and call me if they need some help managing it. So how you, let's see. Are you billing clients under Microsoft NC monthly term, probably annual, or praying to keep paying to commit yourself to paying their annual bill monthly basis? We don't always get in the middle of the billing. Sometimes you let them pay direct. Firewall sounds like something a basketball player rapper came up with. Yeah. Any experience with Teams voice over VoIP service? I think we have some people using it. I don't manage it though. Still using Graylog to capture pfSense? That answer is yes. So you buy the Nextcloud support and resell it, correct? That's correct. That's the way I would handle it. What do you think of Router OS Roundup? Things like Vios, pfSense, UniFi, Sophos, maybe the fancy, expensive options like Cisco. It's so hard to do those. People like those videos. I guess I could sit down and share some thoughts on it, but man, it's such a long. It's always one of those things that people like the video, but it's hard to be articulate about it, and it's hard to compare them because there's so many variables in all of that as an answer. I always tell people, like, people say, well, I don't like pfSense because it doesn't have layer 7. I said, well, if you have a layer 7 requirement, don't use pfSense. And then people like, but you said to use pfSense. I said, no, I said, use it if you don't have a layer 7 requirement. I don't know. There's not an easy answer for a lot of that. I need Windows software licenses. Could you use consulting terms to get a decent price on those for me worth reaching out? We don't resell licenses for Windows. So I'm not the expert on that. I mean, I have one of my employees that does lots of Microsoft consulting, but I'm not sure what you're asking for. I can't get you a deal on licenses, not for Microsoft licenses. What are you recommending for endpoint security software on Windows machines for small business clients? We use Huntress and Sentinel-1. That's been our go-to stack for a while. Matter of fact, Gee, somewhere in here, I have a posting. Oh, there we go. Here is a list of the tools and software we use. I'll throw it as a link. It's a video too, by the way. There's a video in here. There's a link in here. I talk about all the tools we use. Yeah, there's no money to make in Windows licensing. I stay away from it. The margins are so small. The headache is so big. Why bother? A lot of MS software and MS software can only be bought through a reseller, not direct from MS. If I have to give me a rando, I don't know what software you're looking for. That, and we're not a reseller. We're not like one of the gold partners that does the reselling because there's no margin in it. Most of the people that want to be gold resellers, it's not so they can make margin on the product. It's so they can sell you the consulting around the product. Microsoft resellers get 4 to 4 to cover their head. Good luck getting much of this. Yeah, most of the time, like I said, they do it so they can sell you some. They sell you updated or more services and things like that. I don't deal with that at all. Plesk or cPanel, I not something we deal with. We don't really do web. We don't do web hosting. Um, that's a complicated answer. Technically, no. Could you create some crazy hack to make it work? This is why it's technology. It's one of those things. Technically, you should only have one domain where you do the mailing. Could you come up with, though, some incredibly bad idea to make it work? Possibly. I wouldn't recommend it. There's no way. It's just. I don't think it's a great idea. There's. It's not supposed to work that way, but yes, there's ways to make it work. I don't have any reason to make it work. So yeah, someone says, yes, we have Google Workspace and Office 365 on the same domain. So it's not that it can't be done. I probably would say it shouldn't be done. Um, why even bother with Windows at all? It's just a catastrophe way to happen. The problem is I work in the enterprise space, servicing computers. That means I deal with Windows. The Windows isn't going away anytime soon. The enterprise still uses it. The enterprise applications are still built to run on Windows. So it is the devil we know. It is the devil we dance with. It is the devil we built for. Could I interest you in making everyone go away for it? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone's interested in making it go away, but it's not practical. It's not a tenable solution at this time. As more things move to be web based, Microsoft will keep becoming less relevant. Speaking, oop, speaking of Graylog to use in-house because it's been in use forever because it's the best fit for you. Consider logging with other in-house customers. I like Graylog because it is a best-in-class tool. I like it because it works really well. It has an extensible amount of features. It's great. Extensive, not extensible. So it has an extensive number of features. It's got good support. So you can buy support from Graylog. It's open source. There's all the good reasons to use Graylog. I haven't found another logging server that matches in parity with it all the features it has. Therefore, I'm going to continue to use it. Oh, yes, I'm positive. It's a crazy exchange setups all over the place. It's not a good idea. Yeah. I don't see an asset manager software in your link, Snipe IT. Snipe's a neat tool. I We don't need it because we manage our assets with our Ninja RMM. I should say we have all of our assets being monitored in Ninja RMM, which also gives us a list of the assets. Microsoft might need to make Edge OS similar for Chrome OS. I don't know if they're ever going to do that. You can make it work. Google added mail routing to handle legacy post any customers. Those features still exist. So Google front end MS365 and can have the customers outbound. Yeah, there's a way to do it. It's your best UPS recommendation for keeping pfSense. You use scale based on HA or user budgets. User budget. The best UPS is the one I can find on sale. Is IT and Age worth going to if you're not a ConnectWise user? You know, interacting with a lot of the MSP market can be great. It can be a lot of learning you can do about the overall MSP market. I'm not actually much of a ConnectWise user except for Screen Connect. So I made some connections, went to some talks, made some friends. I thought that was valuable. I don't know how valuable it is to use. It's what you choose. Like, do you want to be? And by the way, all the classes there are very like, we're trying to sell you a product. I felt that way about a lot of it. So take that, as to your equation of whether or not it's worth it for you. It really comes down to, how new are you in the MSP market? Are you trying to learn more about that market? LDAP as a service you recommend? No, can't think of one. I'm not that hopeful about web app revolution. Seen too many companies still using Windows to access web apps. Yeah. Oh, definitely pineapple on pizza. Absolutely. Do you store XCP and GV as a local disk at all, or do you only use XCPG's host local storage for boot? That kind of depends. It's a mix. It depends on the scenario. But for our system directly, we have both. So if you look at our hosts, let's look at our Ryzen systems. They have local storage. So this one has some things on local storage. Some things, though, are not. So here's all the different servers running. And I think Zabbix, where's that running at? Zabbix runs on local storage. But let's pull up Graylog. Graylog, I don't have on local storage. Graylog is on the on an iSCSI connection. So Graylog's on iSCSI and there. So it just depends on which one it is. So there's not like a always this or always that. It kind of depends. I work for a nonprofit, and GoDaddy just dropped their workspace mail and sent them over to Office 365. I'm moving over to my server. How do I create a quick change setup where I can swap pfSense box from my Omada gateway and then switch back if something goes wrong? Just have them set up in parity with each other and have a plug you move back and forth between them. Are you in love with yourself? That at least made me chuckle. I don't know. I don't hate myself, but the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And I think the opposite of hate is also indifference. So I don't know. Have you ever used deploy free IPA? No, I don't really use it. Has there been performance difference between Transco and Core been remediated yet? Looking to move to Plex it up for from IO cages over to Docker? I don't know, but those performance differences were mostly in using it as a storage target, not a local performance difference. So I don't know where that answer falls in terms of like. I think the local performance was pretty good, but when we used iSCSI and when we used NFS, we found it slower. 4 a.m. Time to get to bed. Should I use NAS scale or core? Depends on your use case. I've done a video comparing them, and that video is still not off base. There's not enough, even though they came out with a new version, there's still, I feel, some performance issues you might get better out of core, but those performance issues aren't like double the speed, they're small. It's the same thing I talked about in my encryption video. Does encryption with ZFS cause overhead? Yes, about 1%. Is 1% the make or break for you in terms of performance? For some people, the answer may be yes. I didn't see any dramatic performance. I mean, I have a TrueNAS scale system that works really well. I mean, I'm actually, um, let's go ahead and pull that up. My TrueNAS scale system flies. I mean, granted, it's fast, but it seems fast when it was running um, TrueNAS Core, and it's also fast running TrueNAS Scale. I've been really happy with it as a system. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go to what do we want here? We'll start it. Let's see how fast this boots up. So let's go to display. I just want to show you, like, this is a virtual machine running on here. And let's see it boot. And we're going to see how fast it'll boot a standard Ubuntu. And you guys are watching me do this in real time, from shutting it down to restarting it. And we're almost there. And it's just about to the point of booted. Booted. There we go. Completely booted up in a few seconds. Like, the IO performance, the drive performance has been really good with TrueNAS Scale. So I want to do a video on virtualization with it, because it's not the best virtualization platform, but for the basic needs some people have, it probably will work really well. I don't really pay attention to the pricing on TNSR. Is XCP-NG approximate vial enterprise hypervisor replace of VMware? Yes to XCP-NG. I don't know the answer to Proxmox. I I'm kind of mixed on that. I Proxmox does offer some support. I don't think their support is robust. XCP-NG has full, service level agreements and everything. XCP-NG is definitely, because we do a lot of consulting in this. I bring up a couple times, and we've had some cloud providers with 2 and 3,000 virtual machines that are all being run in XCP-NG. So, what point do you put the stamp of that's an enterprise setup on there? Is it 2,000 virtual machines? Is it 3,000 virtual machines? Is it 6,000 virtual machines? There are some very large deployments of XCP-NG that are being well maintained. We've done consulting on a lot of these. So, where is your divider? What makes it enterprise versus not? I will tell you, it does scale quite well to large companies using it. If you want to use some of the Docker stuff in scale, I like it. Like, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. I don't know what else to say about that, but it works. I've played with a few things in there. I've played with some apps in here. Some things work really well, and some things this worked, but some stuff doesn't. The Nextcloud seems to work. Hey, look, there's an update. So let's go ahead and update this. Upgrade. Doing it live. I've been testing a lot with it. It seems to be they keep improving it, but it's not a perfect system. I have a home server, when people remoting for a project. I'm not confident my ability to properly secure the network and software. That's something your company would consult on. Yes, that is a lot of what we consult on. Ubuntu boots really slow compared to Debian 11. My Debian VM goes to BIOS off UEFI. Yeah, the Debian VMs are definitely wicked fast. Let me find one of them. These all, hold on. I have a Debian. Oh yeah, I do. So this is, yeah, one of the Debian systems. So 4, 3, we'll just hit enter. So now we're into the actual loading screen here. See how long this takes to boot. I mean, obviously boot times are directly related to how fast your machines are on here. But it's pretty much, there you go. That's like what, 4 seconds to boot. I mean, yeah, this is a Debian machine, and it's running on the NFS. So this is Debian 11 running NFS, 2 gigs of RAM. Let's go back over here. This is 2204, same place. So here's our 2204. Let's boot this up. How fast does Ubuntu boot? So we've seen a Debian just boot here in just, I don't know, let's say 5 seconds to throw a number out there. Ubuntu's got this weird thing where it just kind of pauses here for a second. It's actually booting. It's actually there's some activity going on while it's doing this. It's not doing nothing, but it still takes Ubuntu probably 10 seconds to boot compared to the 5 seconds of there. There's I'm splitting hairs. The boot time is not the indicative time of the performance of an operating system because if you're doing things right, you're not rebooting them too often. But if seconds matter, they matter. So TrueNet Core came from FreeBSD. TrueNet Core came from FreeBSD origin, and TrueNet Scale came from a Debian origin. That's absolutely true. That's fact. Do you personally utilize Linux desktops, workstation PCs? I'm running Linux now. And do you see that with all your clients? No, clients don't run Linux. I run Linux. Do the Red Wings need a rebuild? Hey, Hockey Town. I don't follow any sport ball or sport puck, so I don't really have an answer on that one. Look, switch over, just getting started. Docker. It's a whole new world dealing with 10 plus. Yes. Does TrueNAS Scale support nested virtualization? I don't know. That's a good question. Buffalo Wild Wings or Wingstop is better. I like Wingstop. Buffalo Wild Wings has good sauces though. What matters is all the backup options. So XCP&G has integrated all their backups into their product. So that makes a big difference. All the backups are right here. You can run all your backups. Your logs for your backups are, hey, when did my gray log last backup? What was the results of my gray log backup? Let's just type gray. There's a successful backup. Here's how long it took. Cool. That was a full backup of that. What about those incremental backups I was doing for my invoicing system? So here's my Invoice Ninja. Here's the backup. Oh, by the way, only took a few seconds. So we can hold a mouse over. 9 seconds to do a Delta backup. 9. That's it. 11 seconds because there's probably more data. 15 seconds for that one. And it varies with the data. So this was a 15-second backup on there. So if I need to back up anything, it is all integrated. It's automated because I have these, enabled for incremental offsite backup. Here's a gray log backup that's automated. I can run a full backup of all my systems. Let's just quickly run a Delta backup of my XO instances. Let's go ahead and kick that off real quick. We're just gonna hit OK. Cool. That'll run a Delta backup in the background. All the integrated backups are beautiful in XCP&G. HA is supported as well. Yeah, there we go. Sales@launchsystems.com. That's the response to can you hire us? Client running Win10 Pro workstation USB storage pages. What's the most change? Oh man, I don't know. There's so many of them that are just messed up. Any chance of how to set up properly Nextcloud, Nextdoor, TrueXX? No, not in SureNAS because I don't know any way to get it properly set up in SureNAS. Not using SureNAS. Ubuntu runs snaps. Q snap arguments. We contract with 45 drives to build Ceph solutions. So yes. I don't really know the answer. It's in verbose mode, but yeah, I don't know why it does that. Set up a new XCP and Jira server with 3 terabyte RAID local storage. XP can install the 3 locals, no installing for different. Right. You can mix it like that. You can build a RAID array, install XCP and also split the partitions for using it for storage. That's correct. XCP is great. Is your old XOA from source video still applicable? Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's really much difference in it at all. How integration backups with Veeam or Veeam Cloud Connect or offsite data centers? I don't use Veeam, so I don't have the answer to that question. Ever seen anybody use Windows Server as a NAS? I don't think that's a great idea. I was looking for a feature and it can do HE failover as iSCSI. Wendell ranted about Windows storage spaces being such poor in terms of performance. So yeah, better running Nextcloud on Ubuntu VM hosted. It would run it wherever you want. Probably Ubuntu's fine to run it. Best place to get, in your opinion, if you can't find it from a local place, you can buy it from eBay. eBay is probably your best bet. Have you ever tried TrueNAS, either Core Skeleton or XCP-NG? I don't recommend that at all. So, does it work? Yeah. I've also watched someone lose all their data doing it that way. Let's all hang out and play with XCP-NG. Well, actually, I'm talked out. I'm gonna play video games or something. Oh, by the way, um, Delta backup of both my XO instances here. That took 1 minute and 12 seconds to back up 8.5 gigs and verify. It does an integrity check, not a verification. That's different. But it's just slick how this works, how it's all integrated. Because, by the way, everything is clickable and you can go, hey, let's look at XO community on production. And we're going to switch this tab. Everything is so linked between there, even the backups. I can see the two different backup jobs attached to this particular instance and run them from with the within here, not from the backup job place. The way you can pivot through data in here, it just makes it so much easier to manage. That's all I can say. It works. About MS storage, never built myself, but a few come across have been running for years without anyone paying attention to them. It's not that they didn't run. Wendell from Level One did a video where he ranted about them basically being really slow in terms of performance. Functioning, yeah. Performing, no. Are you still using ZFS for TrueNAS for gaming? Sure am. Works great. Actually, I'm going to. It's 6:33. I'll give you guys 2 more minutes. This is a 2-minute warning. Answer the last final questions. Dell 16 SSDs, virtual SAN, the IME had to pull out a spare. Yeah, that sucks. That's a lot of SSDs. Any idea how I would tell a bunch of Nextcloud target to the TrueNAS dataset, NFS share, or something else? NFS would be a good idea. You can get some used lab gear cheap on eBay, anything for servers, routers, switches. Yeah, that's definitely for sure. Boo for 2-minute warning. 5 minutes. Last call. Tom has run out of beer, and I want to play video games. And no one wants to watch me play video games because I play them in silence. So I know I'm late to this one, guys. I just got Doom Eternal. So I got Doom Eternal, but I probably won't get to that tonight. I'm trying to finish Serious Sam. Serious Sam was on sale, whatever the latest one is, and I'm like, I want to play that. So I'm finishing Serious Sam. I'm a sad video game player. Sync thing with or without Docker. I run most of my sync things without Docker, except for the sync things that run on my TrueNAS. They run inside of Docker because TrueNAS has Docker in it, and TrueNAS Scale with sync thing is wonderful. It's actually one of the containers they have that work great. It's well set up, it's easy to configure, and easy to back up. I know I talked about Unreal last time. I still haven't played it. I mean, I talked about it. I used to love Unreal 15 years ago, and I haven't played it much since. I think the last Unreal that I was serious about was it called UT 2004. I've heard Doom Eternal's great, so maybe I'll play that. So as you get a tank top, push up bra, and play in silence, you'd be popular in a completely different audience on Twitch. True. I do have long hair at least. I don't think I'm that cute though. I run Nextcloud Ubuntu VM without issue. It sits on my XME server and points to my TrueNAS. Yeah, NFS is probably an easy way to share data between them if you need to. It's what it comes down to. Oh, what else we have? I think we've answered all the questions. I'm winding down. I'm running out of energy. I've been babbling for 2 hours answering people questions, which is always a lot of fun. Sync things for Windows clients. Yes. Yes. You're doing it right. I've been using Sync Trezor. You are doing it right. My wife thinks you're cute, but I'm into a different aesthetic. Fun. What games do I play? I just said I'm finishing, and that's what I'll probably do is finish tonight, playing Serious Sam. I'm not the biggest gamer. I don't even play multiplayer games because I play so randomly. It's like I played last week once, and I think I played on Sunday for an hour, maybe 2 hours on Sunday. I don't know. I didn't even play Sunday. Sunday I decided to watch Yellowstone, so I didn't even play video games on Sunday. I decided to marathon Yellowstone because I hadn't watched it. No, I don't play. Me and him don't always like the same games. Once in a while, I mean, I like both my son and my daughter are gamers. They play all the time. I'll play with them once in a while, but yeah, I know racing games. I used to. I don't remember. I remember a couple of my liked. I actually liked. I think it was what was the Microsoft motorcycle game that was forever old. That one was pretty cool. Well, I can't remember the name of that one. What was the Microsoft motorcycle game? It was like the Microsoft motocross game. I don't know. Deduplication with TrueNAS and the gaming setup. You know, Jeff from Craft Computing already did a video on it, so I don't really see the point in doing it. His video is accurate and good. So look at Jeff from Craft Computing and his video on um, deduplication. World driving game. Maybe. I mean, this game was from 20 years ago. That's like the last racing game I played. I kind of liked one of the old NASCAR games too. So that one was kind of neat. But yeah. All right. Now I'm going to end it. I went for the extra couple minutes. Thank you, everyone who joined. Thank you, everyone who clicked the like button. Awesome hearing from all of you. And I'll see you next week. Or if I feel inspired, you'll see me on a Sunday. Thanks.